Welcome children. We are doing third chapter of history, the age of industrialization. In today's lesson, we will learn third unit, industrialization in the colonies, and the topic is the age of Indian textiles. Industrialization in colonies. So here we are talking about industrialization means proto-industrialization and colony refers to India. So proto-industrialization in India. Proto-industrialization we have done in the first unit. Proto-industrialization means large-scale production before coming up of the factories for an international market. We will discuss it under two different perspectives. The first one is the system of proto-industrialization in India before coming of the Britishers, and second, proto-industrialization after coming of the Britishers. At the same time, we will discuss industrialization in India only in regard to the textile industry. Like for when we did for the Britain, we have done the metal industry also and some other industry also. But in context of India, we will do only textile industry. Then we will compare the condition of weavers during both phases, means before coming of the Britishers and after coming of the Britishers. Before the age of machine industries, that is proto-industrialization, silk and cotton goods from India dominated the international market in textiles. Coarser cotton was produced in many countries, but the finer varieties often came from India. India had vibrant trade links through passes of northwest frontier and sea trade through pre-colonial ports of Surat and Hooghly. A variety of Indian merchants and bankers were involved in this network of export trade. Supply merchants linked the port towns to the inland regions. Bankers were mainly inhabiting the port towns who provided loans to the supply merchants, who in turn provide the loans to the weavers who were residing in the countryside. Supply merchants procured the woven cloth from the weaving villages, and carried the supply to the port. At the port, the big shippers and export merchants had brokers who negotiated the price and bought goods from supply merchants operating inland. So, two middlemen were there. One is the supply merchant who was operating inland, and broker who was operating at the port city. So, this chain of the network was controlled by Indian merchants, and it was an independent, self-reliant system. Supply merchants were inhabitants of villages, so they were aware of the problems and conditions of the weavers and helped them in the time of need in all possible ways. Listen it carefully. This supply merchant, after coming of the Britishers, were replaced by Gumastas. And at the port city, exporters were from many countries, so there was sufficient space for bargaining. Weavers were getting the best price of their produce. But after coming of the Britishers, they eliminated this competition. They eliminated all other exporters. This independent network of the proto-industrialization controlled by Indian merchants was started breaking down by the 1750s. The question arises how and why. Many European trading companies entered India between the 16th to 18th century in the lake of mercantilism. Listen, you have already done these in class 8 and we will just recall it. Vasco da Gama of Portugal was the first to reach India in the 15th century, and he was the first to secure the trading concession from the local ruler of Calicut. The success of Portuguese trader in India led to a race among Europeans for share of the trade in the Indian Ocean and particularly India. The Dutch East India Company, the English East India Company, the French East India Company, and many. Why were these companies named as East India Company? These companies were European companies. Since India is located towards the east, they named themselves as East India Company. These companies broke this network by getting concession rights from the local rulers and monopoly rights to trade. The monopoly right means a legal privilege in which solely one party exclusively provides a particular product or service. For example, during that time, the British East India Company got the monopoly right to trade with India by Queen Victoria. It means no other British trading company was allowed to trade with India. What was its impact? The emergence of European companies resulted in a decline of old ports of Surat and Hooghly through which local merchants had operated. Exports from these ports fell dramatically. The credit that had financed the earlier trade began drying up and local bankers slowly went bankrupt. Bombay and Calcutta grew as a new port. Do you know? In the 17th century, Bombay was a group of 7 islands under Portuguese control. In 1661, the British king got married to the Portuguese princess and he received Bombay as a dowry. And the East India Company leased it from the king and quickly shifted its base from Surat to Bombay. And what about Calcutta? The East India Company chose the place for a trading settlement in 1698. The company bought three villages, Sutanti, Kalikata and Gobindpur from a local landlord family. Then the company developed the city as a presidency city. This shift from the old ports to new one was an indicator of the growth of the colonial power. While many of the old trading houses collapsed, those that wanted to survive had to operate in a network shaped by the European trading companies. We have discussed that in starting we have discussed that the production network involved port city and inland region. The impact which we discussed now was over the big merchants, that is around port cities. So the next question is, what happened to the weavers after coming of the Europeans? This is all for today. In the next class we will do condition of weavers. Thank you and have a nice day.